Sharing with you in this video how to trust your intuition when creating your dreams and goals. And so the first thing that I want to share with you in this video is to remember that intuition is not a feeling. It's not a feeling necessarily. So it's kind of a feeling from one way of looking at it, but when you go just a little bit more in depth on what intuition actually is, what you'll find is that intuition is not necessarily a positive or negative feeling. It's actually neither. What intuition actually is it's sort of this sixth sense of, and it's not even quite a sense, that's not quite the way to say it either, but it's sort of the sixth sense, for lack of a better term, of awareness. It's awareness. So it's this awareness prior to any positive or negative emotion. You can call it intelligence, you can call it your divine intelligence. Some people may even call it's them connecting to their source. Some people can say it's consciousness. Whatever word you want to use, whatever word resonates for you, but at the end of the day, what we have to learn to remember is that there's this sort of middle point where that's what real intuition is. And of course it leads you to make better decisions. Not always, sometimes you learn lessons. But whatever lessons you learn, I find that when you come from awareness, you learn them a lot faster. So intuition is about developing sort of this intelligence, this sort of divine intelligence, for lack of a better term, that naturally develops as you just simply do things with more awareness. And divine intelligence and awareness are sort of synonymous terms, but they're different in the sense that the more awareness that you have, the more that I believe you increase this intelligence. You have a higher connection to this source that we can call the source, or this intelligence. And so when you start to actually do this, what you'll find is that you can trust in something greater than just your limited conditioning and your past and whatever your upbringing was and whatever the case may be. So you don't need to actually be attached to the lens and sort of these blinders that you've had based on all of your conditioning. And so that's the problem, is that there's nothing wrong with having a filter and a lens and a perspective, a way of seeing life, but the problem arises when we attach to that so much that we lose touch with ourselves. We lose touch with who we truly are. And so this would sort of be, for lack of a better term, again, sort of like the opposite of intuition. Like, it's sort of attachment to your identity, it's attachment to your thought, it's attachment to your emotion. And so one word that we can use to describe this would be your ego. This is your ego. So the ego comes, you have a stronger ego when you are so attached to your thoughts and your emotions and your identity. Now, there's nothing wrong with having an ego. You can have a strong identity, but when I use the word ego in this context, I'm talking more about unconsciously identifying with your thoughts and emotions. So it depends really what definition of the ego we're looking at, because from another perspective, the ego is just who you are, who you say you are, and your identity, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be attached to it. So from another way of looking at it, there's nothing wrong with the ego either. But when you have an identity, when you have this sort of perspective of life, this lens, this way of seeing things, you want to be connected to your intuition, to your awareness, while you're doing this. And so really, another way to connect to your intuition is simply to be more aware. Through awareness, you'll naturally learn lessons faster, and you will be able to sort of prioritize what works a lot quicker as well. And so the second thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of how to trust your intuition when creating your dreams and goals, is to actually put yourself first. So you have to learn to prioritize your own state of being, your own beingness, your own connection to your source, your own awareness, prior to anything else in your life, I believe, before you help anybody else. Because ultimately speaking, the way that you're going to be a quote-unquote healer or a guide, or help a person to do anything in any area, what you'll find is that what you need to do is actually be selfish enough to put your energy first, because it's not going to be anything that you can do that's going to bring value to somebody's life. Like, you're not going to be able to add any value to any person's life if you don't even know how to generate that value from within yourself. And what is even value? Oftentimes the most valuable thing that you can give a person, regardless of your skill set and what you come at with the external, is just your attention, your beingness. Just giving somebody your attention in of itself, if you actually are selfish enough is a very powerful thing to give somebody that a lot of times people take for granted. So what we need to learn to do, and what I believe we all have to learn to do, is be selfish enough to care about how you're actually feeling on a moment-to-moment basis, and your state of being, and how you're actually operating in your life. Because it's so easy to get lost in whatever we believe is the most important thing in our life, whether it's our job or it's our business or whatever the case may be. But if you want to be the best person that you can be in any area of your life, I highly recommend that you are selfish enough to a degree to actually put yourself first. And again, I always give this example, but I'll just say it one more time as well, which is in a plane crash, what is it that they always say? They say, put your mask on first when the mask drops down. When the masks drop down, what they're saying is to do it for yourself first. Why is this the case? It's because what happens if you become unconscious first? How are you going to be able to put a mask on somebody else? If you pass out because you don't have oxygen, there's no benefit that you serve in that environment anymore, because now you're just unconscious. You've already passed out. So if you want to be of any value to the environment, you have to be at full energy, full capacity. And in that context, that extreme example, you have to be alive. You actually have to be there. But on a moment-to-moment basis, the more energy that you can come at with something, the higher energy that you can come at, the better. When you have a better attitude with how you do things, when you're not attached to your perspectives, you're able to talk about your perspectives but not get lost in them, and you put yourself first. Also, you become a person that can actually give value to people. You become a person that, again, can be a leader, that can guide people, that can, if you want to help people to heal in their life, you have to show them that they are the healer. It's not you. You're not there to heal anybody. There's nothing that you can do other than remind somebody of their own power, that they've always been the healer, and the only way that they can do that is by putting themselves first. Most people don't do this. They're, again, maybe attached. There's so many things that we can believe is important, right? Like we can believe a thought is important. We can believe our business is important, or maybe even our family. And of course, I'm a person that highly recommends, if possible, having those family values, being connected to who you believe is important to you in your life, and to act accordingly to do what you believe is the right thing. But while you're doing that, though, if you want to be the best person in all these areas of your life, you have to learn how to put yourself first, and to actually be that person that's going to provide value in all those areas of your life. And then so finally, the last thing that I want to share with you in this video, in terms of how to trust in your intuition when creating your dreams and goals, is to understand that ultimately speaking, your intuition is king. And it is king because at the end of the day, there's going to be many things that are going to try to pull your attention away. It's going to be, again, maybe a job, maybe a business, maybe your family, or maybe this, or whatever the case is, and maybe it's something else that you believe is important. But just remember that if you're lost in the conditioning of your past and believing that that's the most important thing in your life at the expense of your own self, what you're doing is you're losing a little bit of power there. You're losing a little bit of life force when you do that. You're losing a little bit of, I believe, again, ability to provide value. So there's no need to do this, right? Like there's no actually need to do this. You don't actually have to give any of your life force away, give any of your power away in order to participate in all these things that you care about in your life. Nobody ever said that you had to do that. It's just that somewhere along the way, we believe that we actually have to stop putting ourselves first, and to be do the right thing in the sense that be that selfless person at the expense of myself. And I don't believe that that is ultimately the best way to provide value, again, to other people. So when I say intuition is king, what I'm saying is that, again, there's going to be many things that try to pull your attention away. But that's the thing that I want to prioritize before I conclude this video, is to remember that what I'm inviting and encouraging you here is not to necessarily say that your job or your business or your family are bad things. Like, these are not bad things. I'm not bashing on any of these things. What I'm saying is that, look, what place are you coming from while you're participating in these things? That's ultimately what I'm saying. Because you can do all of these things. I believe that to be a sort of congruent and integrated person in society, a fully integrated person. Like, you can have your connection to your source and your spirituality and whatever the case may be, but to also have that and be an integrated person in society, what you're going to have to learn is that there's nothing wrong with participating in whatever it is that you want to participate in your life, as long as you're being honorable and respectful towards yourself and the environment. But really what you want, and again, if you don't trust your intuition, that's when we usually have the most disrespect anyway, but we'll save that for later. But what I'm saying is that, again, how are you doing these things? What's the place that you're coming from? This is going to be how you trust your intuition when creating your dreams and goals, which is going to make it much easier for you to create everything in your life and the dreams and the goals and the things that you want to have happen in your life when you start to prioritize how you're doing what you're doing. It's not just the what. The plan is important. Yes, the plan is absolutely important. I highly recommend that you look into which is one of the best plans for you to follow in your education, in your work life, and whatever the case may be. Of course, in your business life, yes, of course, absolutely do all of that. But remember that a person that has a high level of commitment with a not so good plan is much more likely to succeed than a person that has the best plan but has a terrible attitude. Terrible attitude that doesn't know how to be a leader, how to help, ask for help, ask for others to help them, to work together as a team. These types of people that can't do this, don't have the capacity to do this, are going to be struggling to create what they want in their life, even if they have the best plan. Even if there's the best plan that they, paid thousands of dollars for. Pay for the best plan, put 10,000, 20,000 in for the best plan. But if you have a terrible attitude, nothing is going to work for you. Nothing is going to work for you. What you have to do is learn how to prioritize how you're doing what you're doing. This is going to be the difference between becoming a person that is just able to execute on things across the board. You just become the person that does execute on things. You can implement this in any area of your life, because regardless if it's in your work life or if it's in your relationships or if it's in your business or it's in whatever the case may be, in your fitness life, whatever it is, whatever the case may be, what you want to start to do is remember that when you prioritize how you're actually doing things and you're trusting in that divine intelligence, it's going to be much easier to create things, because you start to connect to the one thing that is always true, which is that, again, of course, the present moment is the only moment that exists. And when you're just not so attached to things that you believe are important other than being here now, what you'll find is that it becomes much easier for you to, again, have those ideas to create what you want. Haven't you ever noticed that the best ideas come when you're trying the least? When you have the least resistance? It's because you're connecting to a part of yourself that is just not attached to your past or your future or your identity, whether we realize it or not in that moment. We're getting a little bit of a connection to who we really are. But the key is to do this consciously and apply this in your everyday life, so that then you're able to actually sort of get more control over this and more conscious control over this on a consistent basis.